Hey guys, welcome to The Grey Escape. We are back. I'm Natalie Gray, and I will tell you all about today's episode and more right after this. Welcome, everybody. People I see on the map, people who've been writing to me. Thank you guys for your patience and all your great messages on Facebook. The show is back, and I have so many episodes for you. First things first, if you have any international money transfers to make sending loot overseas, go to thegreyescape.com/cash to get the best exchange rates and a free international money transfer. Any currency, anywhere in the world, thegreyescape.com/cash. So it's time for today's special guest today, who is a CEO of a truly unique company called Aura-Soma. If you listened a few episodes back, we had Mike Booth on the show. That episode's called Enlightening in a Bottle. Check that out if you want even more background on Aura-Soma. It's one of the most amazing companies that I've ever come across, and I'm fascinated with it because it brings together nature and science, and everything about this company involves goodness, which I find fascinating. Their main product is a product called Equilibrium Bottles, and I'm actually not going to delve too much into that because it's very thoroughly covered in the previous episode on Aura-Soma, Enlightening in a Bottle. So these bottles, they've got 49 herbs and essences. They have amazing colors. Most of them are two colors. There's two segments in each bottle of two different concoctions of liquids. And people find that they're being healed spiritually, physically, emotionally from these bottles. There's something wondrous about them. I discovered them myself. I can absolutely attest there's something to it. They're amazing to smell. They're amazing to apply to your body. They're transformative in many ways. So, open up your minds, as you have done for some other episodes, like ones about the holographic universe and vibrations of Tesla, about the healing powers of sound. And we're going to have a conversation now with the CEO of Aura-Soma, Shaun Sargent. He's going to tell us how he came into it, and then we kind of just open the floor and delve into some stuff. Full disclosure, this interview took place a few months ago at the headquarters of Aura-Soma, Thetford, Lincolnshire in the UK, right outside their 450-acre biodynamic farm, which is incredible. And underneath us, when we're having the interview, there is a very special room that I was extremely privileged to go into. It's called the Energizing Room, and every single product of Aura-Soma passes through this room. The word gives it away, energizing it. This room is all about frequencies and vibrations. I can't divulge any trade secrets because I don't even know what this stuff is. But I went in and my fingers were tingling. There is sacred geometry, there's metals, there's things that move, there's giant crystals. It was extraordinary. Well, it makes a noise, and a couple times you hear the noise going in the interview. It's fleeting, so don't stress. Don't think, oh man, this is going to suck with this noise, because it doesn't last long. And who knows, maybe some of those magical frequencies and vibrations are coming right into your brain in the interview. It's like if David Blaine was to make a room to put products in, maybe this is how his room would be. That's what it was like. Okay, without further ado, let's plunge in there with CEO of Aura-Soma, Shaun Sargent.
Mike and I have had a long journey. It was my 22nd birthday, 18th of March, 1994. I came across Aura-Soma as a young boy with my satchel doing my accountancy work. And I'd just come through all my exams. I was fully qualified, and my firm said, oh, you can go out to this crazy company in the middle of Lincolnshire. We don't know what they do, but they need help. Okay, I'm not in a position to say no, so I rock up, not here but in Pine Lodge where Mike lived, and walked into it was just like an alchemist's cave. There were people making things, the smell was just phenomenal. And then I saw the bottles, and it was like, I've been looking for this. I don't know what it is, but I've been looking for it. It feels like a family. And then I met Mike. And bearing in mind, we're still in Lincolnshire, we're still in the regime of accountancy profession, so it's Mr. this, Mr. that. And this guy walks up to me, puts his hand out and says, "Hey, I'm Mike, I've been waiting for you." And it was like, okay, cool. And I think I tried to call him Mr. Booth a couple of times, which, was very sweet about, and said, "No, it's Mike." And that was it. So that was my journey with him. And, it's great to have that recommendation from him.
And the bottles looked pretty much like they look now. Correct. With the two-tiered colours.
They've got the two-tiered. There weren't that many as there are now, and they had the gold caps or probably the silver caps. But I'd done a lot of NLP, I'd done hypnosis, I'd done frequency enhanced music to try and improve my learning, because I was always wanting to do super learning. There's a long story and there's a short story, but actually my sort of academic career crashed, and then I took a year out, then went to university, then came out with a first class honours degree, then qualified one of the quickest of a chartered accountant, and then went on and did other things, but that was through using accelerated learning techniques. Wow. All of which appeared false to me. Oh. It was like you're doing something that's not really what you should do.
And yet you did.
I did it to get through.
Go through quick.
Yeah.
So something worked about it.
Absolutely. But it was incomplete.
Okay.
And I was thinking, there's always more, there's always more, there's always more. So then when I saw the bottles, there was this, there's something going on here that I can't compute in my brain, but there's just a sense of relaxing, a sense of belonging. And then one of the ladies said, "Oh, you like these things?" And I said, "Oh, yeah, tell me what they are." I was still quite shy, quite retiring, thinking, what's all this about? Mm-hmm. And then she said, "Oh, well, which one would you take to a desert island?" Well, this is a bit crazy, I'm supposed to be working, what's going on? I said, "Oh, I picked it. Which one, if that didn't exist?" So we got the 4 on the table. And then she just started talking to me and asking me the questions. And things came out that I wasn't even aware of. And it's like, this is incredible. This is what I've been looking for. This is a tool. And I was still using the word tool.
Yeah.
I said, "Oh, that's very beautiful. What do we need to do?" And she said, "Oh, you just take it and apply it." And I went, no, this is crazy. Are you sure? Yeah. So she gave me a bottle. And I took it home and I made a mess in the bedroom because I forgot to put my finger on it, and I shook it all over and, put it on my body. And, 22 years later, I'm more excited about AuraSoma than ever. And I've worked with it every day.
Wow.
And there's been changes in my life. If I look back, I think, wow, is that really where I came from? And I would say, the support of Mike is I'd say guardian in a way. My teacher, the person I share so much of a history with, guiding me through the process, but the bottles being the arm that comes around you. And it's just like a really trusting family member who puts their arm around you, and there's a sense of whatever's going on, it will be okay.
Oh, that's lovely.
So that's what has got me through 22 years of this. So when Mike says, you've got to go and speak to Shaun, I don't know why. He trusts me to work with him, and I'm very grateful for that trust he has. I just do what I do, and all I know is that the product for me is something that's part of me.
And is your job in the company, is it an accounting position or much more bigger on a larger scope, right?
Well, luckily for the company, it's not the accountancy position.
Which you did skim through, we learned, on an accelerated program.
Yeah, we took our accountancy practice from 150th largest firm to top 20 within 10 years, and I was one of the 4 owners, and that was great, and I loved every minute of that. But I can't think I ever did any accounts. It was more talking to people, meeting people, figuring out what they required and helping them get what they needed. And I think that's my role now with AuraSoma. And, fortunately, Mike identified that very early on, they had an accountant here, and yet I was working with him on accounts type matters. But it was basically, what is the strategy for Aura-Soma? And, would you like to come to courses? Yes, please. I'd love to come to the courses. So I've never really been the accountant here. And, we're very lucky we've got somebody far more capable than me doing it. I'm just a meter and greeter. And if I can talk to people and hear their stories and help them with that, then so much the better.
Right. Do you remember what the bottle number was that you did?
Yeah, they haven't changed.
Okay.
The third and fourth positions have changed over time as new bottles have come in, although they haven't really changed for 7 years now. But my first 2 bottles have been the same since the first selection to date. And I try and do things differently. I try and look at them differently, but I always ask the same questions of, hey, which one wants to come and play? And it's the same ones that jump out at me, and that's great. People get crazy. They say, what? You're not progressing, you're not progressing. Oh, it's so boring, you've got the same bottles. I said, I learn more each day applying these.
I don't believe here I am, Miss Level 1 practitioner. But I don't believe those first 2 bottles are supposed to change, are they? Because it's your soul journey and your greatest gifts, which you would assume those 2 are the same constants throughout your life.
That could be the case. But
I am a level 1 practitioner, so student.
No, I think everybody has the same level of wisdom within them. We just cover it up. And from my perception, I've done so many courses with Mike. People's bottles change, and there's not a wrongness to that or a rightness. It's just as they find out more who their true self is. So it may be that you get that instantly, or it may be that you need to work on that, or it may be over time some of the layers fall away and you find out at more depth what the true aura is, what your gifts are, what your mission is, and so on. So it can change. And some people change them regularly, and that's fine. I think nothing is wrong.
Right.
And, I've worked with all of the bottles, but if you say to me, which are my bottles, and these are them, and they're my friendly family member, and they're with me. But if people change them up, then that's cool, because that's what they needed at the time. And
right.
That's really trying to get the explanation of Aura-Soma to people, is where we are now is, please get out of your head, because you can't compute this.
Right.
There's 179 billion different possibilities with the bottles we have. How can you compute it? Mike doesn't stand up in a class.
Is that the number?
I'm
that's
not
selecting 4.
Yeah, if you do 115 times 114 times 113 times 112, I believe, if I've got my calculations right, it's around 179 billion. But I'm open to be checked on that, because my maths isn't very good, which is why I have people to do figures for me.
But is that number calculation based on selecting 4 bottles? Wow, flipping heck, 179 billion.
Yeah.
Good God. Wow.
And so, no, you can't really compute it. When Mike teaches in class, it's not that he brings it from a book. It's a different space, whatever we want to call it, whether it's the quantum, whether it's the universe, whether it's God. It's a space. And, he just brings what he thinks is what it should be, or shall we say what he believes it is, rather than thinking. There is no thinking with him. And his teaching is very much on a vibrational level, which is what Aura-Soma is. So to say to people, look, they come to a class, they come to a seminar, and they say, oh, I've read about this, and this is, and you look at their bottle selections, and it's like, really? Are you here to impress, or are you here to grow?
Oh, so you mean that they've more consciously picked their bottles, trying to be these certain special people? We had
an interview here for Mike's PA, not one of the people who's in the position, and we used a very top level headhunter, and they brought some great candidates, and this lady was fantastic on paper, and we said to her, okay, could you tell us, or do a consultation? So she put her 4 bottles on the table. And Mike looked at me, and I looked at him, and he said, what do you think? Interesting selection, Mike. And, he said, yeah. He said, are they really your bottles? And the lady said, yeah, they're my bottles. Okay, really? Yeah, you've chosen those? Yeah. He said, okay. And she sort of sat there and sat there and sat there. And then she said, well, actually, I read the book.
Oh.
And I thought these are the bottles you would like to see. And we said, okay, interview over. The headhunter went crazy. He said, you can't do this. It's against the law. I said, forget it. We want somebody in a position of responsibility with integrity, and she's telling us what we want to hear rather than what's true.
Right.
So it's very beautiful that this is the aspect of the bottles are there, and if you use them and work with them, they will bring you untold change. But if you're trying to do it from your brain,
consciously,
it just won't work.
Right.
And the guys who are far more clever than me have done studies that say the conscious mind works at the speed of 1, the subconscious works at the speed of 20,000. What's running our show is not our conscious mind. If we actually tap into the subconscious and make friends with this, we will become so powerful, it's unbelievable. And AuraSoma is the only key I found so far that does this.
Wow. And in what ways has it actually impacted you, which I would imagine is quite a spectacular span, given that you've worked with it, did you say, for 22 years?
22 years.
Wow.
How has it expanded me? I don't know, because I look through my same eyes as I did when I was here 22 years ago. How has my life changed? I now live in Australia. I travel the world. I feel more settled in myself. I think I know myself slightly better than I did 22 years ago. I know I've got an amazing gift of working with a system that can support me through anything that I face. And I think with constant practice, I'm getting to be a little bit more of who I can be in this reality rather than who I thought I was. And as I say, it's daily practice. It's with every breath. Mike teaches to be with every breath present. And there's a lot of people now talking about being present. There's a lot of people talking about the breath. And, that insightfulness that he offered to me very early on through listening to the Star, which is one of his core courses, that's an everyday practice. It's a really, am I using my intuition? What is it I'm using? When I go within myself and say, is this right? What does this feel like for me? It's not what am I thinking? It's what is it in the base of myself? And that's how I would say I've changed really with AuraSoma, is to really trust my own intuition more and keep working with it, because it's a journey. Hey, we're just on the first step.
And when you first saw the bottles way back when, and the lady said, which one would you take to a desert island? You took it home. You wasted a bunch of it because you didn't put the cap on. And that very first time, what was your experience then with just one application?
There was just this. I lay on my bed. I was married at the time.
So she's gone.
Yeah, she's gone. And I just thought, wow, this is such a warm feeling. My bottle, the first bottle I ever chose, and still the same one, is the Zero, which is Royal Blue Deep Magenta, which is the most beautiful bottle. And I always associate that with everything. Trust, you name it. I used to work in the early mornings in a family business, so I would always see the dawn rise. But just before the dawn, if the sky's clear, it's the most beautiful deep magenta royal blue. And then as the sun comes up, you get the blues and then so on. So for me, this was such a familiar color of everything's going to be okay, because, it's this warm feeling, everything's there, everything is in the night sky. And then, sure enough, the sun comes up. So I put it on, I lay there and I thought, oh yeah, this is good. The smell's good. And the body was just going, yep, this is so fantastic. I can't really express in words what I felt, because it's beyond words, but it was just like, okay, this is it. This is the beyond everything else that I've ever done. I don't need management training now. I don't need hypnosis. Yes, I still listen to music, and AuraSoma has some very beautiful music for the bottles, but this is actually it. If I work with this, I'm going to find out who I really am. And my sole goal is to be the better version of me I can be. This is the key. It's like a GPS. If you say, I would like to go to London, because that's where you think you want to go, and where am I starting? I'm starting in Birmingham. Well, I'm not going to get there if I'm starting in Lincoln. So AuraSoma is this galactic system for mankind, where it will tell you where you are. It will tell you how is best for you to go, and it will tell you what's possible or show you options. I don't think there's anything else that will do that in the way of kindness that it does it, because it gives you the choice. How quickly would you like to go? Would you like to go? Maybe you change your mind. Maybe with some assimilation, things are different. But that to me is the reality of this, which is it is the ultimate support for this time. So why do I do it? Because it's for me.
Right.
You know, I want to be the best I can be. So when they shut the lid and I get to meet whoever I get to meet, they say, yeah, that was a pretty good attempt this time. You did well. Not that there's good or bad.
Except for that whole trying to skip through accounting. The zero bottle, if I'm correct, is that they call it the spiritual rescue bottle?
Correct. Or the full.
Would you have said that that's actually, at the time, would that have been an accurate thing? If they'd have said to you instead, it's not 00, this bottle is called spiritual rescue, would it have resonated with you?
It wouldn't have really mattered what they called it, because I wasn't interested in the names and I didn't pick the books up. It was just, that's the one. And, you know, I was very fortunate with the lady because she didn't really try and tell me much about the system. It was more a conversation about, you know, do you find it difficult to sleep at night? Do you sleep well at night? Do you wake up really tired? Well, yeah, actually I do. Oh, you know that? But I always think I sleep well. Yeah, well, that's because, you know, maybe you're off on some other time and space doing some other things. Well, oh, cool. That was, you know, that didn't really mean a lot to me. I wasn't religious. I wasn't spiritual. I wasn't looking for new age, even though I'd used accelerated learning. It was more seeking for something that worked for me. So I wasn't really that fussed about what they called it or anything else. Now, 22 years down the line, it's all interesting as a corroboration of what it was.
Could you look back on yourself and say there's a young man who possibly would need to be spiritually rescued?
Yeah, I think so, because I was lost. You know, that's the reality. I was searching for something, so I was a seeker. So by definition, I must have not known where I was. Otherwise, I wouldn't have needed to be seeking, because I'd have already been where I wanted to be. So I think there was an element of that. And certainly now when we do consultations or we look at the bottle, or I even just sit at home and meditate with it, you know, I either put it on my star or on my third eye and just lay back and just feel the energy coming through. It still is a sort of a rescue bottle, and it still, for me, contains everything. So whatever I'm facing, I always, you know, gravitate towards that, because I know within it, my being will take what it needs, and that bottle will give it freely. And I don't need to explain it. I don't need to try and understand it. And the more I try and understand it, the less I will get. So it's a very beautiful thing. I'd like when they told me, oh, it's the Fool, I thought, oh, that's cool, that fits me quite nicely. But of course, then you read what the definition of a fool is. And, you know, the tarot definition of the Fool.
What is it?
I mean, the Fool was the person that sat with the king, and the king had all the wise men, and yet he listened to the Fool more because the Fool was honest. And the Fool gave the reality of what was going on in the kingdom, as opposed to doing it from an agenda of, I want more of a fiefdom or something else. So that later on resonated down the line with me, because, you know, I think Mike and I have a relationship where we're brutally honest with each other. Fortunately, 99.99% of the time, we're so in alignment, there isn't any wavering. But we also know if there's a difference, we will talk to each other, and each one knows it comes from a point of, now this is my point of view, this is what I see. And then there's more awareness generated by that, because there isn't any filter of, oh, what's the agenda, what's this, what's that. And, you know, to me, that's so important in our relationship, because why else would you work with somebody?
What's really interesting is, I would imagine you know this, I asked Mike, what's his bottle? And you would know what his bottle is?
I mean, I think it's the one.
Yeah. So it's interesting that out of the 115 bottles, you guys are right at the beginning, side by side.
Well, my second bottle's the one.
Oh, that's interesting. What's his second bottle? Do you know?
I believe that's the 11, but
More wands. He's just mad for wands, that guy.
I believe it is. I mean, Mike's, you know, he's very careful with what he shares with his bottles, because, of course, people look up to him, even though he doesn't ask for that. So there's always this temptation to go with the guru's bottles. So he's very mindful of letting people have their own experience rather than sharing his, because I can guarantee there'd be 15 in a class with the same set of bottles as Mike. And it's like, come on, guys, that's not really, he doesn't want to see that. He would like to see you, and he can see you.
Right.
So it's this lack of integrity in your bottle selection. And yes, if you're working towards you, that's one thing. But if you put something which is so obviously false, that's not really honouring him or the system. So he's very guarded with it. But yeah, I think it's the 1 and the 11.
Do you know what my bottle was? Can you have a guess?
No.
If I give you the clue, all the king's horses and all the king's men.
That's a good one to have, eh?
For my first pick, it's like everything was broken and needed to be repaired. Yeah. And I, of course, didn't understand any of this. This is just a few weeks ago. Only a few weeks ago in Glastonbury when I first discovered Aura-Soma, and it like hit me like a lightning bolt, seeing it in this store. I mean, I've painted for 30 years since I was a child and sold my work, and so I've always been around colour. So the colour just sort of shocked me, and the colour combinations, and there was just something like electrifying about them, and I was just like a kid, you know, what are those? And the orange one, which is, they call it the Humpty Dumpty one, as she told me, I was just, I love that. I've always loved orange. And literally, then I look back now, after learning about Aura-Soma a little bit, and I realize what that's saying to the woman is, I'm in really a terrible situation. I am a disaster, and somebody needs to help put me together again, you know.
And I think the beauty of that is you can do that yourself, and Aura-Soma gives that possibility, and that's what makes it so exciting. And when I say now is the most exciting time of my life with Aura-Soma, is there are billions of people such as you and me looking for this. You know, I see the seekers now, and, you know, whether we're in Sydney and we're talking to corporates, whether we're in Byron Bay where we live and we're talking to hippies, anybody who sees the bottle, whether it's traders coming into our home to do work, they stop and they have the same reaction that you did, the same reaction that I did of, wow, what is this?
Yeah.
It gets them. And it's then beautiful, really, to see people go through a process. Some people will run away because it's like, it's not through the eyes, it's through the being. The being's going, oh, I'm not sure I'm ready. And people will come to it when they're ready. Other people just jump fully into it. And, you know, that's really my sort of target for Aura-Soma with Mike, is to just make it so available so people have a choice. You know, if we're going to change the world, people need to have a choice and see it. If they don't choose it, that's cool. They'll choose it when they're ready, and it won't ever go away. But to get people, so you don't have to go to Glastonbury. It's available. People
online.
No, not really.
No.
I mean, to me, I was asked this question in Hong Kong 2 weeks ago. The ladies were saying, oh, that's great, and we're looking at it online and we're doing our selections, and you know, we'll do the colouring in and we'll choose the pens. I said, okay, so how many have done internet dating? And a few put their hands up. I wasn't embarrassed. I said, yeah, I've done it.
Yeah.
And I said, so you know all of those pictures? They look really great, and you read the profile and they look absolutely fantastic. And then you go out and you meet the person and they're not the same. There's no spark. There's no vibration. There's no connection. And they went, I said, this is, if you do it online, yeah, they look pretty. Yes, you can get a lot of information, but compare it to the date when you met the person.
That's right.
And you go, that's the one.
Yeah.
And we want everything online. Everybody wants convenience. But, you know, the number of relationships that are just by the chance, and you just got to trust the process, as Mike would say. You'll get it when you get it, and that's great. Our challenge is the digital age, and how do we fit into that? Because everybody wants to see it online, and everybody wants content, and everybody wants a story and a community, and that's what we're working on very rapidly now to come up to speed with that. But nothing beats the walking into a shop, walking into a house, walking into a spa and going, wow.
Yeah.
And that's the challenge, because people go, oh yeah, that's not really true. Well, that's why I use the online dating analogy, because it certainly was my experience. You know, I know when I look at the tarot, I know when I look at the books, it's all very pretty. But I know when I walk into this room, or the room at our house, or any other room that has the bottles, It's completely different energy.
Yeah. I mean, I noticed as well, because the colors, they're electric. I mean, to me, they're like actual gemstones that are sitting behind glass.
Yeah.
They've been captured. It's like some cosmic energy has been captured inside a bottle. They're incredible and startling to look at. And I noticed on actually the tarot deck, and I felt my heart sink a little bit because they're just not captured on the back.
It's exactly that. You know, Vicky Ward described it as the picture of your loved one versus your loved one. You know, if I look at the bottle and I don't apply it, what does that mean? And she said, well, it's just like having the picture of your loved one on the sideboard. You're looking at it. But what happens when your loved one comes home and you embrace them? That's the difference. And again, that's the ensuring people actually understand what the guidance is here is get it on the body. Let the bottle do the work. The bottle has been given from the universe, from spirit, to support you. It's here. Work with it. Not keep it on the shelf for 5 years and complain that it changes colour or, you know, oh, this bottle's not the same as the one I had before. I mean, it's a craziness. We don't say to our partner, oh, you know, you're not quite perfect. You go, I really love you. I love you just as you are. And, you know, I say to people, I don't know if the zero I'm using now is the same colour as the zero I used 22 years ago. I don't care. I've stood in front of it and I've said, okay, which one wants to come and play? And this one has said, I do. If it's a deeper blue, a lighter blue, more or less quantity, not quite level, the glass isn't perfect. We are all imperfectly perfect. And that's what Aura-Soma is. And you're quite right. It's there waiting to help us on our journey. And so it's nice to have the books. Mike's written some fantastic books. It's great to have websites. It's great to have information. But we are in a time of information overload. And we've been given by whatever created us the ultimate decoder, which is our insight.
Yeah.
And Aura-Soma works with insight.
Right.
And it will help us remember who we are and what's going to be our best way. And I say it's just the most beautiful experience to see people on the journey. And Mike, you know, he's been at it since 83, 84. He changes daily. He works with the bottles daily. He's got an integrity of his mission. And, you know, it's been beautiful to watch his evolution over the time I've known him too. And I think that's again an inspiration for me of he's not there on high going, you know, I am so guru-esque, I know everything. He said, I don't know. I have no idea what tomorrow will bring, but today this is what we're going to do. And this is what my insight, he never passes off responsibility to some being he's channeled. He always says, this is my insight. I'm working with my being. And I think that's very beautiful too, because a lot of people get lost in the message of, I'm special because I can interpret your 4 bottles. That's crazy. Nobody knows you as well as you do.
Right.
And I think with the Aura-Soma consultation, it's really a great gift to observe somebody interacting with their bottles. And as a consultant, to just allow that interaction to take place and be there to support, to give a cup of tea at the end and to really facilitate that person through. But I don't know more about you than you do, even if I know more about the bottles, because the bottles are talking to you, they're not talking to me. And I think it's a very unique time on earth because that's what people are looking for. And, you know, we're working pretty hard to make this as visible as possible to say to the seekers, hey, we're here. If you want to come and play, if you really want to find out who you are and what will be helpful for you on this point on the earth now, this is it.
And how are you doing your plan to get it out there? How does one even do that with such an abstract product?
You know, Vicky said to make it available to all who truly seek it. The best way to make it available is to make it visible. Because as your experience, you knew nothing about it. You come into it and go, wow, there's nothing more required. Right. You'll now make your choices, whether you work with it for the rest of your lifetime or whether you stop in a month. That will be the right choice for you because you chose it. So our challenge is to have shops in every town would be hideously expensive. To have people in every town is a desire. To have billboards and advertising is just the same as we talked about with the tarot versus the actual. So I really think it's word of mouth. People will talk about experience, and what we're doing here is you've had an experience and we're talking about it, and you're going to share your experience, and that's going to inspire people. And then they'll say, wow, I'd really like to experience that. So how we're doing this is by getting people to share. And one of the projects we've got going on at the moment is to create an online portal where people can share testimonials, because nobody wants to hear me really, or Mike, because we've got a vested interest in this.
Right.
They want to hear you. They want to hear other people who, you know, throughout the world in different professions who have worked with the bottles and things have changed. You know, people have cured themselves of cancer. We can't say that because we get shut down. But if that's somebody's story, they can share it.
Right.
Or somebody's healed abuse, somebody's healed a physical illness, somebody's healed a mental illness. Some child can't sleep and uses it. Somebody's found out something in the work that was really helpful for them. You know, that's what we would like to create, a massive wall, so people can click on and go, oh, I want to hear this story.
A cancer story specifically. Yeah. I mean, I'm curious there, specifically on the cancer note. Would you say that the bottle that person was drawn to was particular to them, or that there is something particular to cancer that would be beneficial for that bottle to other cancer patients?
I think the upshot is the bottles don't heal. You heal. And there's been a lot of research, and the ancients knew this. The Essenes knew this thousands of years ago. You can heal yourself. You know, they said, beware of your thoughts and feelings because they create beings. So it's in the head. Why have we got the problems in the world? We're all in the head. The being is crying out for attention, and what we have put in our subconscious stays there until the least opportune moment, and then it comes up and surprises us. The bottles just help to see what's going on. And they, through the energetic support of the crystals, the minerals, the water, the plants, will help the being, will help the body. You know, we're in this elastic spacesuit, but it's really to facilitate the energetic being to correct itself to what it wants to be. How do people heal themselves with cancer with Aura-Soma? I don't know. I don't need to know. For them, I perceive they just found the cause of their dis-ease. And in that dis-ease, whether it was a cognitive knowing or a subconscious knowing, they were able to unlock that dis-ease, and with that just went. And, you know, we know that if we eat greens, we know if we have an alkaline diet, we know if we're vegan, these are all helpful factors. But if your brain's saying something, or not even your brain, but the subconscious is saying something, that's what's running the show, whether that's creating dis-ease for various reasons. My personal belief, and this isn't Aura-Soma, this isn't Mike's belief, this is my personal belief, is that is a window to the soul, which is what Aura-Soma says. But through that window, you can really get an idea simply of what's going on. You don't even need to be aware of what's going on. Just trust in that bottle, and its application will bring relief, will bring up things into the cognitive that you need to address. And through that process, then the healing will come.
Well, I mean, you and I have just literally been flung together. We didn't know anything about each other. So for me, just there's something I want to tell you very briefly, because it will shed a lot of insight, I believe, as to why I'm even here. My background was solidly arts and entertainment my whole life until 2012. Had what is most easily described as a near-death experience. And I went ice cold, blood pressure crashed, and I started to speak scientific information, which I had no background in whatsoever. And everything that I had said, I've confirmed is absolutely true according to modern science and physics. So as you can imagine, this was very life-changing for me. And more information kept coming for the next few nights between 3 and 4 a.m. And there were significant, big, profound messages, one of which was sound can heal everything, and that everything is an illusion. It is all just our perception of an infinite range of frequencies and vibrations. Now this, initially, I felt it absolutely to be true with every part of my being, which actually disappeared from my own perspective and awareness in the experience. I could see the people behind me, but I could not see my own body. So I, for 4 years, have been on this sort of research mission to find all the scientific evidence I can to share with people what I felt to my core to be true. Like I'd been given a peek through the keyhole of how the universe really works. So when I first saw AuraSoma, which I certainly wasn't looking, and I was only on a sort of tourist trip. I was in a little sound healing class in Glastonbury and looking around like a tourist. But the first logical thing I think is, well, the colors are vibrations, all the energies of what you guys are putting in there. It's the symphony. There's a symphony in those bottles, and every color combination and crystal and plant combination is playing a sonata that you can't hear, but your energetic body can hear.
Very beautiful, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's an amazing description of it. And yeah, what more to say? That's the gift. It's all there, and it's at that vibration level. And Mike has always said, maybe Vicky said it too, AuraSoma is the language of colour, number and sound. And we've been fortunate a couple of years ago to meet a healing pianist who has been on the world stage for a number of years, who came to play for us randomly in Rennes-le-Château. And his claims are, he's healed people. His grandfather was with the North American Indians as a boy, given the gifts or learned the gifts. But David Bailey is the gentleman's name, and he's created some pieces for the colours now of AuraSoma. And it's just magic. It's exactly how you describe it. If you put the sound on, the colour is washed in on the waves. And, whether it's acoustic vibration or colour vibration or however it is, to interact with the bottle and to then just allow the being to receive the sound too. It's another way of removing filters, because even if we say, don't look through the eyes or look through soft eyes, there's still an element of the brain, whereas if you couple it with the music, then it's a very beautiful way of integrating that message. And I think your story is amazing because, it's what I would perceive to be a reality, and more people need to know.
Right.
That's the reality.
Well, that's how I felt, was like, I need to let people know this isn't what what we're seeing is less than 1% of what's actually here.
Yeah.
And that's science. That's on NASA's website. This isn't some new age hokey pokey stuff that somebody's making up with a feather on their ear, Yeah,
and that's the reality. What drives me, what drives Mike, what's the goal for AuraSoma is there are so many people who are looking. If you look around in the world, it's easy to get caught up on what's going on, like whether it's the difficulties coming through security or the financial distress that people are in, or GM foods, or it's an illusion designed to take us away from our center. Yet it causes us to focus on things that aren't really important rather than what is important, which is ourselves. So people feeling not at ease, people are feeling dis-ease. There's no wonder, the number of programs on TV about medical issues and so on. I just watched one this morning with my daughter. It's awful what they put on TV at key hours to get people attracted away from the reality. Oh, this is this. And it's like, I said, turn the TV off. Turn the TV. This is awful. And she said, oh, no, it's really good, Dad. Some Thor is on the TV. And I said, turn it off. I can't watch this. This is blowing my brain. But that's society. Now, AuraSoma is saying to people, how about we get back to the reality of what you're really looking for? Because we didn't come down here as beings on this planet to worry about GM food or whether I can pay my credit card.
Get through tax school quick.
Or any of that stuff. It's about, what did we come down here for? We came down here to have an experience, to make a difference in our life, to evolve as beings or whatever it may be. Now, we're off. Oh, have I got a new car? Have I got a new watch? Oh, I've got 4. It's all an illusion, and that creates this. I see it more because I worked in corporate world for 20 plus years. These people are so stressed out. These people, if we look at it at base levels, forget about spiritual growth. They're so stressed out. They're looking for something else. They'll do sacred cacao ceremonies. They'll do yoga, but this isn't. These are good things, but is it really going to get to the core? We'll go down to the gym, we'll do, X Games, we'll do Fit Pump, and we'll do, these are like band-aiding a major arterial bleed. What is causing this? And it's the fact that people aren't doing what they really are called to do. And so I think AuraSoma is that key for them to say, okay, I'm going to do this for me. Whatever comes up, I'm going to really work with it, knowing I'm safe. Because AuraSoma creates this beautiful, as I said, an arm around me. I never felt, let go of the marriage, let go of the kids, let go of everything I own. Dick Whittington for the second time, the little satchel on my stick and my little black cat walking away. Yeah, if that's what's required to happen to bring peace, because in the end it's about being at peace with yourself. But if you don't know who you are, and you've got no idea of what's going to bring you peace, how can you be at peace? So you'll find other things to distract you. And I think, hopefully now we're moving into a time where the majority of the world in the next 10 years will start looking at themselves seriously, whether it's through things like Buddhism or whatever, meditation, all good things, or whether they really want to get into it. I've traveled around, I've traveled with Mike, I've done my other practices, I've searched and searched and searched. If I didn't work for AuraSoma tomorrow, I would still work with the bottles. It's not about a connection for me. It's no, this is it. This is my life. And if we can get people to look at it, if they say no, that's cool. But it's just to say, if we need to change the world, if the world needs to evolve and become more conscious, how are we going to do that? It's not going to be through insurance companies. It's not going to be through accountancy or law firms, politicians and medical science. They can't answer the questions the people have. And the new people coming forward, the millennials, know that. And that's why there's this disconnect with them. So anybody after 1st of January 1980 has got a different mindset to us. And they're looking for something real. And AuraSoma is here for them. AuraSoma was created because these are the people who will change the world. My daughter's, one of them's 11. She's bright as a button. She knows about all of this. Like your revelation. She's, oh yeah, Dad, there isn't a God, is there? Ooh, really? Oh, well, we're all connected, Dad, aren't we? Yeah, it's about being kind to people, Dad, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, this isn't me, this is her.
Right.
And I'm thinking, wow, these kids have got it. And I was with my accountant's daughter who was 9 2 nights ago. She's got it. They're coming fast, and they know there's something different. So I think this is the change the Earth, the universe, we as beings are waiting for. And I think AuraSoma will be a very good decoder for them, because they're looking on the internet for things and they can't find it. They need real experience, or they will be the lost children.
Right. I mean, at the root of it, like the saying goes, don't you think money is the root of all evil? It really is, because I've always believed, it's weird, I don't know why this would make me choke up. This, funnily enough, is why I may cut this bit out. But this is why I'm drawn to AuraSoma, is this happens to me. I'll start and it'll come up with no conscious tie. Yeah. Like, I'm not talking about an animal that just died, But I'm very much a believer. It's ridiculous, isn't it?
I think it's very, very beautiful that it touches everybody.
But I don't know why. I don't know why. I'm emotional. That's the trouble. So that's why I'm using my bottles to try and understand more where this comes from. But the sentence I'm desperately trying to get out, which clearly has some baggage tied to it, is that I'm a big believer that everybody should just do what they want to do.
Absolutely.
Don't do something because it seems a good idea. Don't do it because you think you can make a lot of money. Just do what you want to do. If you love animals, go work with animals. You love gardens, work in landscaping. You want to perform, go perform. And keep your overheads low, because performing is a terrible career, But money, and I have this conversation with so many of my creative friends, and the money cripples them to death. It, literally, I mean, people kill themselves because they can't cope with it.
Absolutely. And I mean, that's a very, very beautiful piece that you share, because now, you know, suicides in corporate are huge. Why? You know, I didn't meet my bonuses, I didn't meet my targets, I've got the car payments, I've got this, I've got that. And it's like, really? And are you doing what makes you happy? Are you, you know, some of my old colleagues would get up at 6 and be home at 8.
Wow.
And it's like, okay, so you didn't see your family. And then on weekends, there'd be work to do, or there'd be golf to play because that was the networking. So what day do you have for yourself? What time do you have for your family, your friends? And is this life? Is this where you want to be from age? Well, I mean, it's really 4 now, isn't it? We go to school. And I'm just surprised at how much homework my daughters have. So it's like, okay, so we're working all evening and then at weekends. Well, where's the life? I never did that when I went to school. You know, it was only the last 2 years before O-levels, as it was in the day, we actually had to do anything that mattered. Now it's assessment. Then you go off to university. And just had this conversation with my eldest daughter. Take a year out. You want to do graphics or photography? Come and live in Australia for a year, 2 years with us. Live, and then decide what you want to do. Because you've gone from one prison to another prison to another prison. And then wait, the big prison awaits you, which is called employment. And you're in, and you've got this, and you've got these targets, and I've got this mortgage, and I've got this, and money. There will always be somebody richer than you in terms of physical wealth. How did they get it? Who knows? Who cares? Are they happy? Yeah, I love money. I think money's a great facilitator to make things happen. But do I do things for money? No, I do it because it makes me happy. You know, that's one of the reasons I stepped out of what I stepped out of, was because I knew I was at a crossroads. I'd loved what I was doing. Did I want to commit the next years of my life to the same? No, I wanted to go and do something different. And I think what you share there is absolutely fundamental to the future, is do what you love to do, because if you don't, there's a disease in your being, there's a chink in your aura, and things are going to get in there.
I mean, I think that's even why the emotion came up. It's a deep anger. I'm angry at the way the world is.
Yeah.
It's so wrong.
Yeah. And this is my frustration that I talk about all of the time with Mike, is, you know, you look at the big yachts, you look at the planes, you look at the countries, you look at the people who could really do things to make a difference. You know, Mike, AuraSoma, me, we're trying to make a difference, doing this, working hard, traveling. Cool, we enjoy it, we love it, it's not work. Somebody gave us 200 million, we could make a big difference in the world. Organic farms, biodynamic farms, teaching people what to do, the crystals, the education, the self-development. AuraSoma's key is we teach people how to fish. If we do our job right, the person already knows what they need to do. This is not about giving them a fish. And people don't get that. They say, oh yeah, but we've got to buy the product. You don't have to. This for us is not business. We could charge 10 times more, put 100 times less in it, and Mike could be rolling in the cash. That's never, ever been his mantra. This is about making a difference. His sole purpose is to fulfill what he promised to Vicky Wall, which is to make this available in the world. And that's what we do. You say, wow, how can this guy have 10 billion, 100 billion? And what are they doing with it? You know, they have the nice houses, the 50 cars. Or, you know, I'll plate my Ferrari in a gold because I want to show the boys that it's like, it's bullshit. Excuse me. Probably can't swear.
Oh, you can. I love swearing. I have an E explicit rating.
Cool.
You can swear more.
Good. I can definitely swear more. But it's like, it's really, really, really crazy. And it can't be the reality. So, you know, you say you had this, you know, this channel where all this information came through. To me, I look at this and it's an illusion. It must be an illusion, because if money were real, it wouldn't be used in the way it's used. You know, if you look at the...
Well, you couldn't just make it, for one.
No. Well, I mean, I just watched a video about this guy on YouTube that I follow, talking about how, you know, the Federal Reserve prints the money, which is an illusion, to lend to the banks, who then charge interest to the people. Right. So it's like, oh yeah, they can create it, but nobody else can. And for the Fed, read every other central bank bar 4. And, you know, then how the war machine fits that, how with the medical profession fits with that. So none of this is in humanity's best interest. It's enslavement. So I personally believe money is enslavement. And that's why it's so important to get people to feel what they really want in life. You know, we were, as I say, in south of France, running the chateau over the weekend. We went to a farmer's market. It was so beautiful. My wife and I were in tears because they were there selling their fresh produce.
That they had grown.
And there weren't many credit cards used, you know, because, I don't know, it's barter. Or the guy who we stayed with, he'd had some major building work done where the village had come to help him, and in return they would do things for the village.
Yeah.
And I think that's so beautiful. He sat up there, just by coincidence happens to be the music man, playing his music, creating healing for the world, and living a very simple but very beautiful life.
Yeah.
We then come through Barcelona, and you see the opulence of the boats in the harbour of Barcelona, and you think, I know where I feel most comfortable. And I think if we're going to make a change in the world, it's about people recognizing, do I really enjoy this? Or am I doing this because I have to? And if you have to get up in the morning, stay in bed, because it's not really worth it.
Right.
And yet we have this fear of, I'm not good enough because I don't have the bigger car. I've not succeeded because I'm not called the senior vice junior president of the bakery division. It's bullshit. Really? You know, nothing pleases me more than get my shoes off and walk on the farm.
Right.
And see what the guys are creating up there, to see the person ploughing the field or playing. We can't go backwards. We've evolved to where we are. So how do we evolve forward? And that new time is going to be very interesting, because at some point somebody's going to say, it's the emperor's clothes, guys. These guys haven't got money. You know, it's an illusion. We're paying them interest. We're paying them trillions of pounds, dollars, euros interest on something that they've just printed.
Well, and even in a lot of cases, they don't even actually print it.
Yeah,
when you get a mortgage, it's just new digits have appeared digitally.
I think we watched the same film because it's just out there, isn't it? There's people like us.
There's lots of films like
There's
that.
people, we watched, is it The Big Short?
Yeah, that was a brilliant film.
And it's like, so what did they actually tell us with that film? They told us that the government knew, and it was just legalized theft of the middle classes of the world.
Yeah.
Because who lost? Not the bankers, not the governments.
Right.
They took all of our pensions, all of our savings, all of our insurance bonds. 6.5 trillion went from the middle class. And everybody's going, oh yeah, but we've got the GFC. No, we haven't. It's no different. And now, is it America I was reading? The biggest asset revealed yesterday on the American set of accounts, which I thought was quite interesting, was 1.4 trillion as an asset of student loans.
Oh dear.
So
wow.
We're already in debt before we get a mortgage, before we get a car, so we have to work, so we have to do it. So it's more dumbing down.
I mean, also though, there's such a clear message there that the regular person's debt is the big overall umbrella company's asset. Yeah. Your debt is my benefit, you know.
And it's that enslavement then which takes us away from the waking up. And it creates the disease at an even earlier level. Because I know I went through university, had no debt. Get into a job, no debt. Get a mortgage, first debt. First reason that I have to, because I want a house, okay? And then that's just a choice. Most people have serious amounts of debt for the rest of their life.
Right.
Debt is death, isn't it? It's an indebtedness. Now, that's not good enough. Let's go further down. So before you even get a house, let's do it earlier on, because these kids are going to wake up. These are the millennials. Let's take them out before they start thinking. Let's get them thinking about money, money, money before they start thinking about consciousness. It's just, and I can get really lost in this and it doesn't do me any good, but I think you have to have an awareness of it and that we are providing an alternative, and it is choice, you know.
On the positive side, because we tend to focus a lot in society on the negatives, I personally feel a giant waking up is happening on the planet. It's enormous, and this spike of it going. You only need to look at YouTube, and 3 years ago you might have found a couple of videos on vibrational healing and that kind of thing. And now there's just hundreds of videos. And other things that I find incredibly fascinating as well about geometries. And the way, you know, sacred geometry aligns with musical musical notes that make a scale that also make the colors of the rainbow. It's like, what? There's so much information in nature. It's unbelievable.
I think nothing is by accident. And, Mike always talks about that. Nature has all of the answers.
It's got all the secrets to be decoded by us if we weren't so distracted.
Yeah. And I think that's the reality. I went to see a guy, you've probably heard of him, Don Tolman, the health cowboy.
Okay.
Very beautiful man. He spent his life researching ancient scrolls. He's an architect, not an architect. Harrison Ford, he's the Raiders of the Lost Ark type guy.
Okay.
He's been through all of the vaults of the Vatican.
So he's cool.
He's really...
You wish you were him.
No, I'm happy
Just a little bit.
No, I'm happy with me.
Come on, Harrison Ford.
No, I wouldn't trade Harrison for me. I'm very happy with me. But Don Tolman is really cool, and he's definitely worth a visit because, he talks about health and what the ancients knew about health and what the scrolls said and what the various... And one thing that he shocked me with is this craziness that we talk about now is the manifestation of it at this day and age. But it existed 3,000 years ago. They took all of the ancient wisdoms to Alexandria and some other place, and then the Pharmacopoeia, interesting name, destroyed it. They killed all of the healing women to kill the knowledge. That was 3,000 years ago. I was blown. I thought, this is since 1700. This is when certain families got involved. Wow. But no, it goes back further time. So the fact that we are getting such a spike, the fact that there are people like you, like Mike, that waking up, the fact that Don Tolman, the fact that there are people like Wayne Dyer, Greg Braden, whoever.
Yeah.
These are amazing people who are putting the light out.
Yeah.
There's a different way.
Lynn McTaggart.
And I think it's great that everything now appears. There's always equilibrium. It's no joke that the bottles are called equilibrium. So where there's light, there's dark. Where there's dark, there's light. It's just a choice. But in the end, something has to prevail. And Vicky always said, if you light one match in a dark room, it's no longer dark. So there's all of this now. And, everybody moans about the internet. Oh, Facebook, oh, Instagram. I love it because I can find everything that I want that isn't filtered by the media. And then I can decide whether that's relevant for me or it's not relevant for me. Or we can send out an email to all of our people globally. 15 years ago is letters. So, as you say, to focus on the positive, we've got new media to connect.
Right.
We are the avatar. James Cameron, I would love to meet him because that guy is a genius. I mean, anybody who does Terminator to Avatar has got to be fantastic.
It's got to have gone on a journey. Maybe he got a bottle.
He knows Arnie, so he's a hero of mine. But, it's that sort of aspect of Hollywood is very influential by design. And there are things, you watch the film that Brad Pitt did about the Ebola virus, and you think, that's designed to get us accustomed to this. Zombie eclipse, designed to get us accustomed to this. Then you get things by James Cameron, and it's designed to say there's an alternative way if we all connect and we're all kind, or the option is where the guys in the troop ships came from.
Right.
So it's giving us, the media is giving us a possibility to get the impulse out there. It is an impulse. It's like you wake up and go, wow, I'm getting this.
Yeah.
It's there. It's about switching the people on to say, everybody is the same. And Mike is very, very beautiful how he says this. People say, oh, you're so great. He said, I'm the same as you. We're on the same journey. Yeah, I know a little bit more because I've had more practice, but you have the same tools as I have available to me. Use them. And Hollywood's saying to people, here's the message. And for Hollywood, say new media, say, these kids in their rooms doing their YouTube clips, it's all there.
Yeah.
We've just got to be able to receive it. And I think that's the beauty of the time now is it's never been so good. Let's remember that. It's never been so good. Never has there been so many people working for this change.
Right.
Let's remember that. And
as you say, I mean, a lot of people moan about the internet. I think the internet is the biggest gift ever to spread information. I mean, I'm very big on I love animals, and anytime there's anything to do with animal abuse, I'll sign the petition and post it, try and get the message. And there was just a very big case in the UK. I don't know if it would have crossed your path. It was one of the worst animal abuse cases that they'd ever seen. I will tell people the dog lived. But the interesting part is the people who, found this dog, they've started a petition, and I signed it sort of months ago, and I got the little update, and it said, your petition for Chunky has now gone to David Cameron, and what they're asking for is that all animal abusers go on a registry, the same way that child abusers go on. And I was like, that's a great idea. That'll put you off doing something to a dog, that your name and your picture's going to go up on the internet, and that also they would never be allowed to own animals again. Because the only punishment they'd given to the 4 who'd done this to this dog, they couldn't have a pet for 5 years. I mean, the most pathetic ending ever. But guess how many signatures that were on this petition?
Millions.
Well, it was 500,000. They were only initially aiming for 100,000, and it was 500,000, and now it's growing, heading towards 1 million. And that's wonderful, and that wouldn't happen without the internet.
And what can we do to get that for things? I mean, I love pets, and so to me, you know, it's absolutely amazing that they can do that. But what would it get to get people on that wave for change for themselves? You know, it's very easy to look at things and go, oh yeah, we want to change that. But actually, the real change begins in yourself, and that's for me, the difference between what I was doing and what I am doing now is you can't change anyone. And Mike's very, very solid on this with me. You can't change anyone. Oh, I'm going to change the world. No, you're not going to change anyone. You have to change yourself. Through that change, you can then show people what's possible. It's their choice whether they come or not.
Well, it's the vibrations, Shaun.
Absolutely.
Because you're a tuning fork. And when you change your vibration, all the other tuning forks are going to come into the same resonance.
Correct.
Again, science.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of it. We knew this. The ancients knew it. And then we get lost in books and blah, 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 and trying to prove it with CERN and things like that. They knew this in the Dead Sea Scrolls. They knew about the Fibonacci spiral and phi and pi and all of these things. They knew it. Don Tolman produces a food. It's not an advert for Don Tolman, but
but he's a great guy.
No, based on this ancient recipe where he was healing people through fasting and this food. And he does. And they're proven cases. It's not made up. I'm not trying to do a surgical trial or clinical trial. These are things. And he just says, this is it. It's simple. The ancients knew it.
Right.
And I think what you're saying, what this is, Vicky, described it as old wine in new bottles. It's about bringing forward the wisdom we had, which has been lost by the knowledge.
And allowing ourselves to intuit the wisdom that we are capable of intuiting if we free ourselves just for a bit from distraction.
Absolutely. We're not crazy. The most crazy thought you can have is probably the best thought you can have, because that's more or less going to be what you need to do. And, we have visionaries like Richard Branson, people like that, who have been perceived through history as being crazy. And now he's lauded as one of the great entrepreneurs. But, when he was doing the Sex Pistols, he was like, oh, this guy's a crazy, he's a renegade and so on. But look at him. He followed what he liked doing. And he came up with some pretty crazy stuff. He wants to do a new Concorde. Everybody's laughing at him. But he thinks that he's following his wisdom, and good on him. Whether he's right or wrong, who cares?
I want to add a disclaimer to what you said, though, that to do the craziest thought that you can think of. And I'm all for doing what you want, but I always like to put that disclaimer in, at no harm to others.
Yes, correct.
If your crazy thought is to go blow up a building, let's not go with that one. At no harm to others. So let's make that loud and clear.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I tend to think everybody thinks like me, but it's good to actually bring that back to there are some crazies out there.
Right.
It's do something that scares you, but not at the expense. And it's always about AuraSoma is, self-selective, non-intrusive for the greater good of the being involved. Whether that's doing a consultation or that's working for you, is the knowledge that it is for your greater good. And I think if we actually looked at ourselves rather than looking at other people, we would be kinder. And then the world wouldn't have the crazies who want to blow up buildings, because, why would you choose to do that for yourself? It's just about making it a better place.
I feel as well that people would be greatly helped by spending more time in nature away from big cities. I mean, you guys are really remote out here. Like, you're really far out. Yeah. And you feel the difference in the energy. I mean, I haven't seen a cell phone tower. There's not wires on poles all over the place. You're in nature. And I've noticed myself from my travels, I love big cities, and I've always, until my experience that was so life-changing, I've always been very much that brainwashed big city girl. I want the fancy condo and the great designer clothes and the amazing life in London and Paris and New York. And then when I spent some time out in Malibu, which is actually where the experience happened, maybe that's not coincidental, I was there for 5 months in Malibu in this like very rustic canyon, and I felt a lot of stuff wash away from me. And literally it was though these thoughts and images of what I had wanted my whole life just disappeared. They evaporated, and I was left with the distilled energy of probably who I really was. And it was like, oh, I actually don't care about that stuff at all.
Yeah.
You know what I love? Sitting and having a cup of coffee with someone who's interesting.
Right.
That's amazing, you know, and what does it cost? You can even buy your own coffee, you know.
Yeah, and I think for me, I was born 20 kilometers north of here, so I've always been in the country, but you forget just how beautiful it is. And then, you know, there's a lot of documentary evidence now of healing from the earth. So take your shoes off, walk barefoot, the earth's frequency will heal you 15 minutes a day. There's a beautiful documentary on YouTube with a guy in Alaska who had a bad back, cleared the snow from under his house, laid on the earth, skin to earth. Within weeks, his back was better because the frequency of the earth heals us. You know, we talk about that in Aura-Soma. The earth has a frequency.
It does.
What we do on Shire Farm is to honor the earth. So the chakra path and the heart pond and the crystals and the way we farm is to honor the earth. And that's for us a nodal point, so the earth knows there are some people on the planet who love you. And for people who come to see Aura-Soma to say, this is a different way. Take your shoes off. Experience the feel of earth on your feet. We were in Tokyo last year looking down on the Central Park, and we were so disconnected, 32 floors up in a steel building. We were really, you know, not feeling so well. So my wife and I said, we'll walk to the park, get our shoes off, get to the park, start walking in the park. This feels really funny. Under the grass was plastic.
Oh.
So we weren't even on the earth. So people are so, even if they believe they're laying in the park, are disconnected from the earth.
Oh, dear.
So why is there so much disharmony? Because there's this disconnect with this planet. Why are we doing what we're doing? There's a disconnect. So exactly your point. Get into nature. Look at the beauty of a tree. Look at the beauty of a field, of the plants, of the animals. You know, and just allow it to come in. I sat on the ridge of a little hill on Easter Sunday for a couple of hours on my own, just looking out over the vista, and I just cried. And it was not for sadness, it was just joy of, I'm here, I cannot hear another noise. There's nobody around, no voices, no cars, nothing. I could hear the birds, I could hear the bees. I was talking to the bees as they were pollinating. It's just amazing. And you know, you think if we can get to that where people can see this wonder, but then you look at cities like Barcelona or Hong Kong or, you know, even Sydney, the freneticness of the energy and the aggression of the people, and this group energy is frightening. You know, on the horn because I'm late to take my kids to school. What are the kids getting in the back? I've got to get in front of you because I need my green juice. I've got my yoga pants and I'm going to yoga, but you know, what's the real action?
I'm going to be a jerk
to
get to my yoga class.
Like, really, I think maybe we need to take some time back and say, what's really important to us? What do we like doing? What's going to make us happy? But who knows what is happy for them as a person, you know? I don't know. I mean, I'm in search of happiness. You know, as the Buddha said, happiness is the way, there's no way to happiness. It's a constant journey. But who knows what it is for them? Is it a car? Is it a trip to the beach? Is it a laying in the field? Everybody's different. But I'm sure as hell not happy when I go into a city.
1.7 billion possibilities of making people happy. Isn't that right?
179 billion.
Oh, 179 billion. Good grief.
I'll get my calculator.
God, I was so off.
I'll get my calculator out in a minute.
I'm
We'll just check my maths.
I'm useless at math.
Me too.
I've already reduced the world's possibilities to 1.9.
We'll get Gary in and just ask him to check the numbers.
Right. 179 billion possibilities. Wow. I mean, I encourage, it's funny because right behind you, we're in this farmland. There's 2 fighter jets going over, which is so... It's such a, what do you call that?
It's a dichotomy.
And there's another word as well. Is it to the paradox,
yeah.
right? So you've got this beautiful British countryside with all these fields and organic lands, and there's 2 fighter jets zooming over them.
It's pretty amazing because on the farm, which is in the flight path of the planes coming down, so you have a group on and we'll be around the star or around the heart pond meditating, and sure enough, 2 or 3 planes will fly over. And it's exactly that. We're thinking about love and peace and cooperation, co-creation. If we work together, we can create so much more on this planet. People say, there's 7.435 billion people on the planet. There's too many. Correct, if we live as we are now. But if we all work together, looking at the biodynamic farming as they're doing in India now and returning the land back to fertility, there's more than enough land to feed 7.5 billion people. But not if they want fast food, not if they want convenience. How much more of that do we want? Or do we really want to say, okay, time for change, guys, time for change?
I encourage people very much to try and start to have a big awareness of their overheads, because that's what holds us all prisoner, is our overheads. Yep. If you can live in a smaller place that's not so fancy, and not have to work so hard just to keep a roof over your head, you'll have more time for your life to discover yourself and actually have a life. Correct. Which I have experienced at some points in my life, and it's incredible.
Just as a little example, we live in a little town called Bangalow in Australia, 10k in the hinterland from Byron. So it's a very beautiful energy, nice healing, great to go down to the ocean, walk on the beach. And we have a nice garden with the grass that I have to mow, which, is okay, it's connection to the earth. But we decided, hey, why don't we grow our own veggies? So we turned our grass into veggie patches. So we grow okra, all sorts of things, asparagus, you name it, it grows there, turmeric, garlic, ginger. A lot of the healing herbs. Our neighbour is a medical naturopath, so she puts all of the medicinal herbs in her garden, which we share. So it's this sort of joint work.
Lovely.
But our bills, because we shop at the local organic superstore, food store, cooperative, which is fantastic, get all of the things we can't grow. But we love sauerkraut, just as an example. So we're eating Byron Bay sauerkraut in a 300 ml jar, $20 a jar. Well, we get through that in a couple of days. So I said, well, the cabbage is $2. How do we make sauerkraut? Log on the internet, how to make sauerkraut. We bought ourselves a bell jar with the seal. 20 minutes making kneading the cabbage or whatever else you want to put in it. Put it in. 4 weeks later, we've got 10 litres of sauerkraut.
Oh, wow.
Which, A, we've put our energy into, because they say there's the signature of your food if you touch it and put the intention in. A, we've saved money, and B, we've grown it.
Yeah.
So that's self-sufficiency. Not everybody has a garden. I appreciate that. But everybody who had a lawn, and there are some great pictures on the internet of people in the States or elsewhere in Europe who have turned lawns into veggie gardens to become more self-sustaining, so their food is actually healthy.
Yeah.
And then, you watch the overheads tumble when you don't do that, or when you change certain other practices. You go to Sydney, it's $6-8 for a cup of coffee. It's like, okay, well, that soon adds up. You're having 4 or 5 cups of those a day with soy milk, which is probably not so good for you, or they do the almond milk. I make my own coffee, cold drip coffee for my wife, hemp milk in the morning. Was it $10 for a bag of coffee? That lasts us 2 weeks. And you think, so it's the little things, but people want the big change. Oh, if I could do this, I would be rich. Well, what if you start
with tiny things?
Exactly as you say. Look at your overheads.
Right.
And what can you change?
Yeah.
Because there are bits you can't. You've got a house and you've got a mortgage. Well, what if you overpaid on that?
Right.
What if the money that you had in your current account used to offset mortgages are now very popular? Do you know what it costs you to live? Write it down, put it on a spreadsheet, change it. And then take bits out and see the difference that makes. Yeah,
well, you can free yourself up. You can literally be your own prison escape artist. If you look at your finances, it's a two-pronged approach, I feel. You got to look externally at what you're spending and what you're doing already. But then you've got to look at the ego, because the ego is tied into why we have 99% of everything.
Correct.
That's why we've got the fancy car. It's why we have to live in that certain zip code, because that's where you live when you're successful. So I think people as well, and I include myself here, always I check in with myself of why do I want that?
Nice.
Do I want it because I like it, or do I want it because I think someone will perceive me as being a successful person if I have that? You know, I drive the same car I've had for 13 years, and I refuse to get a new car because I love this car. And even though it's not as shiny as it was, it's a great car, and I feel that it's been very loyal. I don't buy into, I need to be driving a brand new Audi that I'll lease for $600 a month, you know.
Right. And I think there's so many, this is such a beautiful conversation, you just blow my brain. There's so many different aspects to that, because it's also, what's the intention behind it? There's a very beautiful guy out of America called Dan Pena, who is one of my latest people I listen to. He's a high performance coach, and watch him on the web, and he talks about smell the leather. If you want to be a certain way, smell the leather. In his case, it's if you want to be successful, and his definition of success is rich, smell the leather. Go and sit in a Rolls Royce, figure out what it's like to live in a castle, and so on, and then your vibration will attract in. So it doesn't matter if that's what floats your boat, cool. I don't have a charge with that, but it's match your vibration, as you talked about with tuning forks. If you want to be a certain way, make sure your vibration, and so many people say the law of attraction doesn't work. Yes, it does. No, I've been doing my affirmations and so on to be successful, and I'm not. So okay, but it's not enough to verbalize it. The universe isn't stupid. We didn't create this game to be easy. We created it so we would evolve, and it's about making sure we know what we're vibrating. What you've got in front of you now today is a summary of all of the vibrations of your life. If you don't want that, change it. And this is the thing with Aura-Soma that is so beautiful, is it's telling you what you can be to change your situation. It's giving you the clues about the vibration. But people say, no, it just doesn't work, I'm not getting it. Well, because it's in the brain, you've blocked it. Your actual vibration is something different. So the now is a beautiful mirror to say, you've still got a little bit of work to do, because you say you would like to be successful, but you're not. Check out your vibration, check the bottles. What are they saying to you? Are things that you would probably need to have a look at for yourself if you would like to change your vibration. And, I think the tuning fork aspect is very beautiful, what you shared. It is about frequency. Like attracts like. We've known this for generations. No. What you've got in front of you is what you've attracted in. Don't like it, change it. And we can change everything quickly. It's just a choice, but people get lost in it. Oh no, it's this, it's that, it's somebody else's fault. They told me that. It's like, take responsibility. Mike always talks about take responsibility for your actions, because what the ancients said, what Vicky said, they create beings. Your thoughts and feelings create beings. It's not what you think, it's what I think that creates my stuff. Know what it is, accept it, and that's where the application of the bottle is really great, because that's in the subconscious, it's not in the conscious mind. Accept what you have and then change it. The Aboriginals knew this, the indigenous Indians knew this, all of the indigenous civilizations knew this was the way. Somehow we lost it, and now it's beautiful because we're getting back to it, and we can work with it any way we want. It's just our choice. So I think that whole aspect of, I don't need a car, but I like a car. Great. I don't need a boat, but I like a boat. Great. But do it for you, as you say, not for, they'll like me at the golf club if I've got a Rolls Royce. It's like, who cares? It just is mindless, that thing. But if you like a aeroplane, get it.
Yeah.
If you want a gold watch, if that makes you feel good, if that resonates with you,
if you get joy in your heart from it, if driving that car gives you a feeling of joy, go for it. And always throw in that disclaimer at no harm to others. So don't sell your house where you have 4 children to buy the fancy car. Or
don't sell your children.
Other people
don't sell your children. Don't sell your children.
Other people are going to suffer. But if you've got that kind of liquid cash, go for it if it makes you happy.
And the underlying aspect that I think is helping is have the awareness of what your life is and have the awareness of what you would like your life to be and know that you can create it. If you're looking at your financial situation, know what it is. If you're spending $400 a month on coffee and you can't pay your bills, maybe do something different. But people go, oh no, I'm so in debt, my credit card, oh, I went to the cinema 5 times last month. And
we are talking about coffee, Shaun.
Yeah. And it's like, you know, I mean, I have my vices too of a good glass of wine. Enjoy it. But no, have an awareness of what it costs. You know, on that monthly spreadsheet, that yearly spreadsheet that you do, it's terrible, boring accountancy talk, but it's practical. If you want to free yourself up, know what's going on for you on every level: financial, health, spiritual, relationship, environment. Be aware and then change it. And most people aren't aware. It's this massive sleep. And I think the wave now is coming to people. It's the alarm clock. Mike always talks about alarm clocks. We set the alarm clocks as we go on. And if we don't wake up, the next one's slightly larger and it's slightly larger. And I think we're now in a time for humanity. You know, wow, you look around you, there's some pretty big alarm clocks going
absolutely.
on. Wake up people, because it's now the time to really reclaim who you are and make that change for yourself. It's not for other people. Do it for yourself.
I want to get back just for a moment as well to what we were talking about going out to nature, because there's a brilliant documentary called Resonance, Beings of Frequency by British filmmaker James Russell, I believe is his name. And it shows a study they did, I think it was back in the 50s, but basically they put a bunch of students in an underground bunker so that they couldn't perceive the Earth's resonance, which I believe is 7.83 hertz, the Schumann resonance, and they got very depressed. Now you'd think, my first thought, because I'm of course skeptical, well, they're in a bunker. That'll depress anybody if you're going to be in a bunker, right? But then they put a little machine in there after a certain amount of weeks that just gave off the frequency of 7.83 hertz, and everybody got happy again in an underground bunker.
Yeah.
And it really highlighted the importance it is for our mental happiness and well-being to literally allow ourselves time to tune into the planet, which we don't actually have to take any effort other than go for a walk in nature. You don't have to think about it. The planet will do the work for you. You're standing in its broadcast of 7.83 hertz. But for depression in particular, which is so rampant, and the study showed the massive impact that it had on depression when people just went into nature.
Yeah, and I would add to that, I think that's absolutely true, is the movie Earthing takes that on. And we're so disconnected because our shoes disconnect us from the vibration. So which is why at least 15 minutes a day, put your bare feet on real earth.
Okay.
And at home we have a bed connected to the earth. So we've got a sheet with copper wires in that we then put through the mains through the neutral or the earth, which is a copper wire for lightning. So we get the earth frequency while we sleep. And it's a very beautiful, very easy thing to do. Just, you know, because sometimes we don't have the space to walk every day on the beach. So it's been a sort of a documentary in the States, and it's a very, very beautiful way of getting that connection with the earth. Exactly what you talk about. If you can get that frequency, that's Mother Earth saying to you, it's okay, you're safe, everything's in divine order. And it really, really works. I can tell if I'm sleeping in a hotel bed, even if it's a nice country hotel in the middle of nature where we are now, or I'm on my copper wire bed, which is earthed. And it's phenomenal. So it's exactly that point of get out in nature, get your shoes off. If you can, another disclaimer, take your clothes off, lay naked somewhere, but we can't condone that in public places.
If nobody's around.
If nobody's around and it's warm and there's no bees, all of these things. But, you know, you will feel a difference. And this, when you say 22 years ago, what created a change in me is I became a difference. I felt different. I could feel it. You know, there's so much snake oil out there. You know, people saying, oh, if you do this, you'll, you know, grow 6 foot tall, or you'll be this, or you'll be slim, you'll be healthy. It's all bullshit. It's all crazy. It's all fantastic marketing. The marketing companies are brilliant now. And, you know, you see it on the TV, they're evolving rapidly. They're using, you know, subliminal messages. They're using programming. You know, we see it in the movies. Feel it. if it works for you, if it really, you can sense a difference in it, do it. If it doesn't harm people, do it. And that's what AuraSoma was for me, and still is. If I put a pomander on, I can feel it. I don't need a picture to say, oh, my aura's changed. If I apply an equilibrium bottle for a day, 2 days, 3 days, I feel it. And that for me is the reality. Go into nature, feel it. We're sentient beings. We like sensation. We like touch. We like vibration.
Smell.
We're light beings, just different vibrations of light. So we need that stimulus of feeling. We're disconnected, so we don't feel things. We're told what to feel. Nobody should tell you what to feel. You should feel what you feel, because that's how we've evolved. And nature is the gateway, because that's the way back for people who have been disconnected. And that's what's so beautiful with the farm and Devora, is we get people from Japan, Taiwan, China, America, some places in Europe. They're so disconnected. They come on the farm. It's like you see the light go on. You see them running around like 4-year-old children, and it's so beautiful. And that's great. If that makes change in those people's lives, fantastic. That's job done.
And it can't be a coincidence that the optimal resonance of our brains is the same frequency as the planet, 7.83 hertz. I mean, that can't be a coincidence. That's got to tell any logical person. Probably pretty good for my head if I'm spending time in nature.
And that's the plan, isn't it? If you think of AuraSoma, how do you explain it? You can't. If you explain nature, you can't. People want to try, and they'll spend billions justifying what was said on the scrolls or the God particle or whatever. Why? If you just feel it and you can see the difference it creates in you, why do you need to explain it? We only need to explain it to replicate it. Why do we need to replicate it? To make money. Because the earth doesn't charge us to walk on her. The earth doesn't say, I've given you 15 minutes now, that's $100. The earth says, thank you. And I think that's the beauty for me of nature, of becoming more aware, is do what makes you happy, because it doesn't need to cost anything. It only costs when humanity starts to try and make money out of it. And that's the replication. So we need to explain this so we can replicate it, and we can bring it to every house near you by the Acme Inc. Corporation. And it doesn't work. Great. But people are still asleep to this, and they're still getting more indebted by it, rather than just saying, okay, I'm not going to take my prescriptions. I'm going to go for a walk. Because that's what they used to do. Mike used to walk with Vicky every day, because she knew walking down, hugging the tree, spending time in nature was as good as it was going to get for her with her body in that state. And she knew it. She left us that message, and people are now globally coming with, the frequencies and this is what you can do. And I think it's so beautiful that we have that. But this woman left that in AuraSoma for us. And how many go for a walk? How many take time to walk with their loved one once or twice a day? I do. I know I start my day and end my day on Byron Bay Beach. 30-minute walk down, swim, walk back when I'm at home. I couldn't think of a better way to connect with the earth. And how much more productive am I with that? Great. So what do we do here? This afternoon we're going to go up on the farm, kick our shoes off, go and do some walking down the chakra path. Why? Because we need to recharge. We haven't touched the earth for a couple of days, and it's time we did. And they're simple things, and this is the beauty. AuraSoma is simple. Explaining it is not possible.
Right.
It's quantum analysis to the power we haven't got, but it's simple. Just put it on, and it will do the job. You don't need to understand why the earth heals you. It just does. Just get your shoes off and walk on it. And I think that's the beauty of evolution going forward. Keep it simple. Go for the simple things. Look at your finances. Do the simple things. The big things will take care of themselves. We are somehow divinely protected, because the earth couldn't have the same frequency of the brain. Nobody can do this. If it's the matrix, it's a pretty damn good matrix. It's here for whatever reason. Let's just accept it. Let's accept we're all loved. Let's accept we're all here for our enjoyment, not at the expense of others, and our personal evolvement. Let's do the simple things. Keep it simple. Do the simple things and see the change that happens. And that's why I always laugh when I pick the zero, because the zero is the fool. Keep it simple. The fool never complicated matters. And I think that's a great way that I've did live, had a confirmation of it, and it's worked pretty well for me. I can complicate things in my brain pretty clearly with all that royal blue. But I know if I really want access to myself, the gold opposite the royal blue, in the depth of myself, in my subconscious, going into the being of who I am, really slows things down in real time, and I see what's actually going on for me, and I can change that. But I know if I really want to get lost, I can get up into my head, and boy, I can make some stories up. So it's a beautiful conversation that just reaffirms for me the beauty of keeping it simple and getting out into the nature and doing the easy things.
Can you tell us, we're above a very special room, which is why we hear this vibration now. What's actually happening underneath us?
Well, you probably know more than me. In all my 22 years, I've never been in the energizing room.
Oh, okay. So I was very VIP then. Wow.
Yeah. I've sort of peered around the corner. No, we're above the lab in Aura-Soma.
Okay, the energizing room. Well, then I do know what's going on.
This is where we take all of the products and we energize them with some very special devices given by whoever to Vicky and to Mike, based on ancient wisdoms that bring in the frequencies we've talked about to protect the products while they travel, and then also with the intention of activating for the greater good of the person who chooses them. So it's a very specific process that they go through. More than that, I don't know, because as I say, I haven't been.
Well, now that I know you didn't, let my ego take over for a minute. It's amazing, Shaun. You know, you've really got to check it out. I went into the energizing room just a few days ago, and my fingers were tingling, like I literally felt an energy in there. I guess, you've got work to do. You're a busy man flying in from Australia, so we won't keep you all day. I guess just as a sort of a wrap-up, part of the other information that came during my experience was all about the nature of our physical beings, and it was how very little we actually hear. And the reason we enjoy music is because it's frequencies we can understand. We're actually surrounded by cacophonies of frequencies, but our ears are so primitive, we only hear a tiny slice of the acoustic spectrum. Yeah. So we don't hear color, but color is making a noise, just like every cell and organ in our body. And as I pursued learning sound healing, because of the direct message I received that sound can heal everything and music is the key, I learned always the scientific stuff I'm interested in, that when you play the perfect fifth harmonic, I don't know if you know music, they're 5 notes apart, literally. Da, 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 that's 5 notes apart. Play those 2 together and your body immediately starts releasing nitric oxide. So it's quite logical to me that when you have 2 colors side by side in a bottle, that on some level that we can't perceive with our primitive hearing, they are making 2 different musical notes. And all of those intervals, as we're taught in sound healing, each interval has a different physical response on our bodies, on our physical bodies, not the energetic bodies. So I just wanted to mention that I can understand why we can't understand the healing side effects of Aura-Soma. And I know you're not even allowed to claim that they're healing, but I believe that they are. And I believe part of the reason is, because of those harmonics that are created with the 2 colors sitting side by side.
Yeah. And certainly, when we look at what goes into it, the crystals as well, I was fortunate last week to visit our partner who makes the crystal tinctures, which is an experience. These guys have just got so much knowledge. And when Mike met Mr. Luty, who was the instigator of this specific situation, he was just a master. He was curing AIDS in the early 90s with his product.
Wow.
So him and Mike had an instant recognition. And now what they create with Aura-Soma for Aura-Soma, they say they never see crystals with the energy that Mike selects and sends to them. The production takes 12 months to turn the crystals into the tinctures, which we then use. They're using ancient methods. And the energy when you walk into the alchemist lab is just phenomenal. And I remember when we first had the first batch of the emerald tincture, Mike and I went to pick it up, and we were driving one of his 4x4s, and we said, oh yeah, put it in the back. There was 40 litres of this essence in the back. Okay, so anybody who's skeptical about energy, I mean, we had such heat in the back of our car. We had such vibration coming through us the whole journey. It was just, we were sort of embraced by this emerald vibration. And it's, what's it doing? Don't know. How is it doing it? Don't know. But it's clearly washing in, like sound washes in.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's something that we can't see because our eyes are primitive too.
That's right.
You know, and this is where we get lost in the sense doors. You know, ears and eyes and mouth. Well, no, there's the third eye. You know, there's the whole aspect of the crown. We don't use those activation points, which would really give us, you know, the mystery lands. We could, but we choose not to. And I think the music, the color, the frequency, it's there. However you want to express it, however you come to experience it, it's going to have an impact.
I think once you just consciously decide that I'm going to be aware, to listen to myself, to listen to my belly like they do in the East of the knowing. And I feel it's kind of like, once you know that the science of it is that you that we see is actually less than 1% of the you that is really there. Well, that's like if you go on a road driving at night and somebody said, okay, there's going to be 99 other cars and they're not got the headlights on. Suddenly your awareness is going to go sky high. You're like, there's cars around here. I know it, but I'm not going to be able to see them because they're in the dark. But my awareness is going to go up. And I feel we can do the same thing with our awareness, just with knowing that fact. You look in the mirror, you are seeing less than 1% of who you really are. And that is science. So who's the other 99% of you? And that's where you go pick your 4 AuraSoma bottles. That's who you are in the rest of your 99%.
Absolutely. And, you know, then the other part of that is if our eyes really were good and we could really focus down to the best microscope, we would see we're just nothing but atoms and we're all vibrating. So, yes, I can see you, you can see me, but actually that's only because our eyes are trained to do that. But at the core, we're just floating little bits kept in suspension by charge.
And none of those floating little bits are actually solid matter,
Correct.
What they used to think. They're just little particles of energy that go into and out of existence.
Yeah.
So the top leading physicists of the world today say you cannot even be ignorant anymore to the possibilities of things like multiverses and that there's multiple yous, you know, and again, it's just science.
Yeah, and it sometimes feels like that, doesn't it? It feels like, wow, which one am I in today? You know, you get up, it's like the sliding doors effect. Which one of my lives am I in? And that's very beautiful because, you know, I can choose it. I can choose the life I'm in. How do I choose it? Well, that's the question. And that's really where the four bottle selection comes in. And that's why we suggest to people every day, look, check. This is your real-time guidance of where you would want to go, who you are, what's going to be important to you. Where else could we have that? It's like if it was a watch, a quantum watch, and it said, oh, this is what you need to do, we'd probably follow it. If we downloaded it off the internet, we'd go, oh, yeah, we need to do 50 steps here, do this, do that, as a guidance, because it comes off something that's familiar. AuraSoma is not familiar to us in this time, but it was familiar to us before. And it's that remembrance and that getting out of the way of ourselves, saying, it was familiar to us before. We have seen this at some time before.
Right.
When I have no awareness, but as beings, we have seen AuraSoma before. So it's back. That's why Vicky said, old wine, new bottles, it's back. It's the time. This is going to tell you what your watch won't tell you.
Right.
At a deeper level, and better than anything else, you're driving the process for you, but the you that's driving it isn't the you that's in this spacesuit. The you that's driving it is the universal you. And then what more do you need?
Right.
That's it.
And we are definitely encoded with a memory, just like all the animals are on the planet. And things like butterflies, they've done studies where, the grandson of a butterfly can fly 3,000 miles and land in the exact same spot that his grandfather did. There is energetic intelligence there.
And they're figuring out the quantum field now. But, I mean, it's there. We know that. What you put out comes back to you. What you put out affects other people. If you don't believe in energy, go stand next to a speaker in a heavy rock concert. It's not the sound that gets you vibrating, it's the vibration of the music coming out. That was one of my earliest understandings of energy and vibration. You stand next to the speaker, you can't hear anything because your ears bleed because it's so loud, but your body gets that vibration, it disrupts your heart. That's not through your ears, that's the vibration changing the vibration. So it is all about the vibration, and it's there, it's just accessing it.
Should I let Shaun go, I think?
Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to talk to you.
It's been such a pleasure to talk to you, and I'm just so grateful we were able to connect.
I've enjoyed it very much. Thank you.
And hopefully we can keep in touch.
Cool.
And I will do anything I can to help spread the message of Aura-Soma and its mystery and wonder.
Thank you.
That's all good, So thank you, Shaun Sargent.
Thank you.
Thank you again, Shaun Sargent from Aura-Soma. As always, I will be putting links to all the cool stuff at thegreyescape.com. Of course, how you can contact Shaun, and also links to things like the butterflies and the earthing documentary that Shaun was referring to. Thank you guys, as always, for listening. If you're an iTunes user, please take a moment to rate the show. I would be truly grateful. I also have a YouTube channel now. It's kind of new, but I've popped the episodes up there. So if you like to look at a graphic, a stationary graphic, while you're listening to your podcast, then just find the Grey Escape channel on YouTube. Thank you. I can't thank you guys enough for listening. I'm thrilled to be back. And I have some sizzling guests coming up. You won't even believe it. Paul Davids is coming back with his amazing documentary information on the death of Marilyn Monroe, and it is mind-blowing. He knows what happened, and he's got proof. So stay tuned for that. We'll also have Mike Booth himself from Aura-Soma back with an upcoming episode. And Anthony Peake, everybody's favorite holographic guy, has a new book out, Opening the Doors of Perception. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss anything. It's great to be back with you guys. Feel free to write me, contact@thegreyescape.com. You can find me all over the place. Twitter, @thatNatalieGray. The Facebook page, of course, is /The Grey Escape. All grey with an A. That's it from me. I'm going to be back with you guys really soon. Have a great week.